Alrighty, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Basically, I've grown about 8 inches in height, as you can see. No, keep the camera up here, you. I just, whatever, fine. I just wanted to be a little taller. Anyway, basically, so today, it's still Saturday. We actually just got done doing his brakes, but beside the point, what we've started on here, as you can see, just see if you can guess. Just look and see if you could take a guess of what's about to happen. So exciting. It's something that I've been waiting for about 8 weeks for now, and I finally received all the parts and pieces needed. Basically what we're going to be doing in this video is second gen swapping our 2004 and a half Dodge 5.9 liter Cummins turbo diesel, and it's getting a new turbo. So basically we went with a T4 style setup, or T4 footing setup, with second gen style manifold, and then we went with bought from Evil Fab. Huge shout out to Evil Fab for custom making some of these pieces. So we went with a T4 setup with an S300 series turbo. I think it's probably a 64 and a half size. But it's a high mount setup, so the turbo and the manifold are basically flipped upside down, and the turbo is going to sit like right here basically. And we went with the 364 mainly because this truck, you know, we're going to be pulling some stuff with it, towing, and I was just kind of afraid that we wouldn't have as much, you know, we wouldn't spool up very good. And also I kind of want to run twin turbos on this thing, so I'm thinking about like a S472 turbo for the second one. But that's later down the road. Right now, this is what we've got, and we'll show you guys the parts here in just a little bit. Alright, so as you can see here, we've finally got the turbo, manifold, exhaust brake, all that together. And whoever worked on this thing last, if you zoom in right down here on the turbo flange and the manifold flange, just watch this move.
That's not supposed to move, is it?
It's not even sealed. It's not even closed there. Yeah, and so, I mean, you can tell. You look all around this thing, and it's pretty plain that it's been leaking for sure. So, probably gonna clean this turbo up, and then I'll probably end up selling it. But I don't know. I think let's go around here to the engine bay. think we're about ready to go in with the new.
I think it's out old and with the new.
We got a lot of cleaning to do. There's some stuff in these exhaust ports from the old manifold bolts. Try and clean that up as best as possible. We don't want any of that getting in there for sure.
Grab that down.
So as you can see here, got my V-band clamp. Whoops. Need to do that. By far the most difficult part of taking that off was this coolant line bracket that is on one of your manifold studs, but pretty ridiculous. Nah, I just messed with you. But yeah, so we're gonna clean all this stuff up, get it kind of prepped for the new stuff. Don't want to. You might as well take this opportunity to clean it up while you've got everything open here. So that's what we're gonna do, and we'll get back with you. All right, it's actually the next day here on the project. Basically, we got everything taken apart that we needed to. Sorry, as you can hear. Say hi, Lauren. She said hi. You just didn't hear it. Anyway, so these are all the parts that we're going to be putting on today. We've got our S300 series turbo, the T4 footing, second gen style manifold, downpipe, all the hardware. There's a lot of stuff in here. V-band clamps, turbo blanket, and again, Evil Fab actually includes a turbo blanket. I think on every turbo kit that they sell, which is really nice because those are expensive. Our intake, air intake, this is what we're going to use for our air intake. And then our hot pipe, our boost pipe, all this stuff was powder coated.
Honey, don't put me in the video.
Camera shy over there. But yeah, so then we got our air filter in here, our manifold spacer. This is going to go on here because we have an aftermarket intercooler from Banks, so it has a 3.5 inch port, I want to say, so that's how we're going to adapt that. This is a 364.5 turbo, I think, but basically we might end up running twins on here, I don't know, so we'll see, but we'll catch back up with you here in a minute. Alright, so kind of where we started on this project was taking out our battery over here on this passenger side, and then we took off the air intake and all that stuff. Take off that, get that out of the way, and then as you can see right here, these band clamps for our boost pipe going to our intercooler to take those loose. Yeah, we ended up ripping our boot here. We're not going to reuse it, so whatever, I don't really care. Your oil feed, which goes in right here at the top of your oil filter, exhaust, your downpipe needs to be taken loose, and then we had an EGT probe on ours, so we took that loose. And then your oil drain, which I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little hole right down where my finger is, my pointer finger. That's where your oil drain goes. And then you got your 12 manifold studs. And this thing here is kind of a pain to work around. You just kind of gotta mess with it a little bit, and it comes off pretty easily after that, though. And which we also had an exhaust brake we had to remove, which is kind of goes to this assembly right here. I'm gonna remove that all together. I don't want it. I'm not really impressed with it, so I'm gonna take all that off. Make sure you clean out these holes where your manifold studs were. Just try and clean all this stuff as best as possible. Try not to get anything in your head. No debris. Try not. I mean, I just sprayed these out. Basically, I put a rag inside each port and then sprayed both top and bottom out. And then you know, that's kind of that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our scuff pad here. We're going to clean up all these ports, these surfaces, and that way we have a good surface to put our new manifold on. So we'll get back with you here in just a minute. Alright, so I think I've got at least the surfaces pretty good and cleaned off here. They're all smooth. What I'm going to do now, I kind of cleaned up one of the old exhaust manifold studs. Make sure there's no debris or anything in the threads. I don't have a tap and die out here, so basically the old manifold had a heat shield on it, and I had these nuts on there. So basically what I did was just run one of the nuts from the heat shield on the threads just to kind of clean them up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it through the threads on these manifold holes here, just to try and clean out any other stuff, just to make sure they're nice and clean threads. And then I think we can move on to the next step. So we're going to get